Good morning, everybody. Well, it has been a very, 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 very quiet time around Newcastle United at the moment, hasn't it? Jesus Christ. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review Breakfast Show with myself, Paul. Thank you very much for tuning in this morning. It has been a hell of a night, But before we start, if you do enjoy the show this morning, please don't forget to give it a like. And of course, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. It is free to do so. And all that we ask is that you hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload or a live show in the future. Super chats are also available, guys. If you want to donate to the channel, you can do using the $ at the bottom of the live comments. And if you do that, we'll guarantee that your comment will be read out live on the show. And of course, memberships are available. We've got some member prizes coming up later in the week. So you have to be in it to win it. So hit that join button and you can support the channel that way as well. Right, we've got a few. Mark the Celt, I believe, is a returning member. Thank you very much, Mark. P. Keith, a member for 27 months. Isak and his unscrupulous agent employed a PA company to pull them out of the shite. Now NUFC look like the bad guys to the press. Get him out. Trolls a member for incredible 43 months. Cat's out of the bag. Isak is a moron, and our owners will not be held to ransom by the likes of Liverpool. Johnny NUFC, 23 months member. I wish Newcastle had made a statement before the rat, but I do love our comeback. Gives him no choice, really. And Dan Robinson with a super chat. Do we think anyone will deal with the Isak's agent again? Exactly. Right, let's turn our attention back to last night. Now, I did say when the live show ended that the way things had gone at Newcastle United, it was going to be very, very interesting to see if anything happened again with regards to news breaking after we'd ended our live show. And boy, did it happen. Massive statement from Alexander Isak, which pissed off every single Newcastle United fan. Unbelievable, quite honestly. I've got it here, so I'll read it out to you again. You've probably already all seen it anyway, but here we go. I'm proud to be recognised by the fellow professionals with a. Hang on a minute, I can't even read that. That's too small on the screen for me. Just bear with us a second, guys. I'll get it up on my other screen as well and read it out to you. Honestly, I should have planned that before we went live, but hey ho, that's what lives are all about. Let me just, right. So I'm proud to be recognised by my fellow professionals with a place in the PFA Premier League team of the season for 24-25. First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates and everyone at Newcastle United who has supported me along the way. I'm not at the ceremony tonight. With everything going on, it didn't feel right to be there. I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what really was said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made and the club has known my position for a long time. To now act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. That's where things are for me right now, and why change is in the best interests of everyone, not just myself. Alexander Isak. Well, I mean, make of that what you will, but it's basically me. And that's what I picked up from that. It's all about me. I've been harshly done by, etc. Craig Hope then came out with a tweet saying Newcastle still have no intention to sell Alexander Isak. He is not for sale. He is not going anywhere. Leave it at that. It was a very strong statement put out by Craig on X. But then Bruno himself released what I thought was a very poignant Instagram post. Basically, around 5 minutes after Isak had released the statement, and I said at the time, I'll say it again, that meant a lot because it just meant where we are as a football club and the unity behind the scenes that is there with the squad right now. Now, Newcastle United had no choice but to respond to this. Everybody was calling out saying we have to hear from the club, and we did hear from the club. And boy, oh boy, what is it? A statement and a half, guys. We are disappointed to have been alerted to a social media post by Alexander Isak this evening. We are clear in response that Alex remains under contract and that no commitment has ever been made by the club or any official that Alex can leave Newcastle United this summer. We want to keep our best players, but we also understand players who have their own wishes and we listen to their views. As explained to Alex and his representatives, we must always take into consideration the best interest of Newcastle United, the team, and our supporters in all decisions, and we have been clear that the conditions of a sale this summer have not transpired. We do not foresee those conditions being met. This is a proud football club with proud traditions, and we strive to retain our family feel. Alex remains part of our family and will be welcomed back when he is ready to rejoin his teammates. Now, look, I understand Newcastle United saying that about rejoining teammates, etc. But Jesus Christ, the animosity now towards Alexander Isak is incredible. I've never seen this before. This is something new that the amount of anger put towards Alexander Isak. That statement as well basically condemned Newcastle United, saying we have broken promises that were made to the player. Newcastle then respond and say, look, no chance. That was never the agreement. So who do you believe in all this? Because I know for a fact I believe Newcastle United. I don't believe Isak. I don't believe his representatives because, quite frankly, that statement by Alexander Isak has not been written by him, right? He will have overseen it. Of course he will. But that's been written by his representatives. You can clearly see the way it's worded. And that is disgusting for me. He hasn't got the balls to face anybody. And that's what angers most people. He hasn't got the balls or the guts to get in front of a television screen and actually explain his situation. He puts out a statement written by his representatives calling out Newcastle United for not agreeing to sell him in the first place. But I tell you something, I don't believe a word of it. I don't believe a word of it. I think his representatives have come forward and put that out. Again, it's a last-minute, it's a last-ditch attempt to rock the boat at Newcastle United and give the club no choice but to sell Alexander Isak. And it's massively, massively backfired. The professional response from Newcastle United, as Agent Tech says there, was fantastic. Absolutely. Now, if you look back to international duty back in March, right, Isak gave an interview saying how much he loved living in Newcastle. He loved the football club. Now, this is after apparently he'd already told Newcastle United what was going to happen or what he wanted. So he comes out and barefaced lies to the camera saying everything's fantastic. So who's the liar in all of this? It's certainly not Newcastle United Football Club. It's the player, it's his representatives, and they once again tarnish the fantastic name of this amazing football club, which he's tried to do all summer, and now it's a last-ditch attempt to get the hell out. And it's backfired on him because it looks as if he is going to be a Newcastle United player still when this transfer window closes. And he faces a hell of a problem trying to reintegrate into this team. Now, there is a lot of fans saying, look, get him, just let him rot. I'm half in agreement with you. But if we don't get any strikers in, we kind of need him. But what I will say is if you look back to his performances at the end of last season, and a lot of people have picked up on this since Isak released that statement. And then obviously following on from what Callum Wilson had to say, Callum genuinely believed that Isak downed tools. That was a poignant comment. And you have to look at that now and say, right, did Isak, because we all thought he was injured because he wasn't putting any effort in. He just strolling around the pitch. And we all thought, oh, you know, he's knackered. He's had a hard season. That doesn't seem to be the case. And, you know, what's to say that these snakes of Isak's weren't saying, look, Newcastle getting the Champions League, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to move. Very difficult. But if they're not in the Champions League, you have the option to move then because they're not challenging in the Champions League. So Isak, was he bothered if Newcastle made the Champions League or not? I don't think he was, quite frankly. You have to put all this together and think, right, this is extremely weird behavior from a football player. And you look back on all the story throughout the summer, Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Samsonite Dove says, what an own goal to try and use the PFA award to gain sympathy. After last night, no football fan anywhere can have sympathy with that man-child. NUFC Gaming, a member for 11 months. Thanks, mate. NUFC will always be bigger than Isak ever will be. And verbal agreements can't be held accountable, and it's not in writing. Great show once again, TTR. Susie, Ratsack needs to go immediately. Don't care about dollars. Charlie says, I'm sorry, up till last week, I didn't believe the hype on Isak and thought it had all been blown out of proportion until we heard from him, and all my comments reflected this. I was wrong. Isak out. Ricky Thomas says, Isak broke first. One statement by a desperate clown. The other, awesome post by Bruno. The photo says it all. Isak didn't shoot himself in one foot. He shot himself in both. Let him rot. And Dave Bannon says if he wants out that much, he should buy his own contract up and pay the tune 150 million. I also think Liverpool need investigating for tapping up. Well, they do it all the time. They do it all the time. And to be honest, these big clubs can do that. But that's not really the point of it, to be honest. But look, the bottom line is I don't think Newcastle United fans are going to forgive this guy. Not a chance in hell. You know, what he's done to Eddie Howe is despicable. Yet Eddie continues to be so diplomatic about Alexander Isak. And even the club there in that statement, a really, really professional response to the situation, which was blown up completely from that Isak statement. And Isak himself must be thinking, Jesus Christ, you know, this is really blown up in my face and completely backfired. Liverpool, their fans on social media at the moment, it's absolutely incredible. And I saw a comment earlier saying, oh, you know, the Liverpool fans on there are all plastics from foreign countries. They're not. Some of these are podcasts, fan channels who are really going absolutely apeshit over this. And all this free Isak kind of stuff. And there was the comments from Jamie O'Hara yesterday about Newcastle holding them to ransom. Well, I don't think that's the case anymore, is it, Jamie O'Hara, you bellend? Now, look, there's a few of the Terry Flewers. I'm calling you out on this from the Football Terrace, right? He did last night did a show on YouTube claiming that it was exposing, Isak had exposed Newcastle United's lies. And this is the rhetoric that a lot of people have picked up on from from other clubs. That Newcastle United have lied to Isak and they're making that their big story. Not even touching on the fact that Newcastle United have since released a statement exposing the lies from Alexander Isak and his team. So give over with your rhetoric of, you know, exposing Newcastle lies, Terry Flewers, because it's a load of bollocks. And you didn't even pick up on the fact of Newcastle United's reply. So this is what is happening around the country now. Everyone jumping on the bandwagon saying that Newcastle United are this, Newcastle United are that. Well, it's absolutely ridiculous to think that Alexander Isak is telling the truth in all this. The man has acted like nothing but a snake in the grass all summer. And if anybody wants to believe what that turnip is actually saying, then you need seeing to, because you need help. Because it's clear. Eddie and the club have made it very, very clear that Isak has not been told that at all. No club official, that was the words, no club official has ever told that to Alexander Isak. And, you know, I'm really pissed off now because his performances at the end of the season now, I genuinely believe, given what a snake in the grass he is, that he was told by his pathetic bunch of arrogant arsehole representatives that Newcastle United not in the Champions League would be beneficial to Alexander Isak. Go back and watch his performances for the last couple of months of the season. And you tell me if he was putting everything into those games. You tell me if you think he was absolutely 100% on it to score goals. You can tell. Now that this has all come out in the wash, you can tell. And, you know, Callum Wilson, why would Callum Wilson lie and say that he believed that he would down tools? It's there for all to see. So, you know, we're talking about reintegration back into Newcastle United. How the hell How the hell, in everything that's holy, does he come back into this squad now? When the players have made a stance, the players clearly do not want anything to do with Alexander Isak, and rightly so, because they've been just as much disrespected as the football club themselves. Because those players, without those players around him, Isak wouldn't score the goals he did. Yes, he scored a couple of individuals, fair enough. But football is a team game, not an individual game. And without the players around him, Isak does not get that many goals. I'm telling you now. How many assists did Murphy get? Without Jacob Murphy, how many goals would Isak have scored? You have to look at all of this. No one player is bigger than the club or the team. But that squad there, that are there now, have been badly let down by this guy. Badly let down, as well as the manager and the fans. The players have as well. And the players will not put up with this kind of bullshit and just say, oh, welcome back, Alexander. You know, let's get yourself back in, get yourself up front, son, and get some goals for us. Because Isak, how on earth do you bring him back and expect him to put in 100% for a football club that he doesn't want to be at, and he's accused of telling lies to the world? How do you do that? I mean, look, I'm of the opinion now that he has to go. This guy cannot be kept around Newcastle United. And listen, I know Newcastle have come out and said many, many times we're not selling them. And I love that stance by Newcastle United. But do we really want this guy around our football club who has done nothing but disrespect us completely and disrespect the players and the manager who've done so much for him? Do we really want that kind of person at our football club? Despite all the goals, take all that away. This is about the club, not about any individual. This is about our football club. And he has acted in a disgraceful, despicable way. And he's got every other fan base basically turning on Newcastle United, thinking that we are the ones in the wrong. And the club are completely wrong to keep him prisoner, if you like. What a load of bollocks that is. This guy signed a 6-year contract, right? People forget that. 6-year contract. He did not ask for a release clause. And he was quite happy to sign a 6-year deal to the club. And then Isak talks about broken promises. He signed a 6-year contract. Now, surely you can look at that and say, you're very hypocritical, Alexander, because you're talking about promises here. When you decided you wanted to sign a long-term 6-year deal, where was the release clause in it? Where was any clause saying that if a certain offer came in? You didn't want any of that shite in there. You signed the contract. You've got to lie in your bed now, sunshine, and deal with the shit that's coming your way, because there's a whole host of it. And I just think a bad apple like that has to leave the football club. I don't see for any. I just can't. I know that there's a few people on this channel and a few guys out there have said that, you know, we reintegrate him. We need this. We need that. However, I don't think we do. I would rather this fucker left the football club than stay with us. I'm telling you that now. I don't want Alexander Isak at Newcastle United. I couldn't give a toss if he came back and scored 20, 25 goals. I wouldn't care, because he has already shown his true colours. This guy does not want to play in the black and white shirt. He wants nothing to do with Newcastle United. And he comes out and he barefaced fucking lies about the football club. Because I am backing Newcastle United 110% in this whole thing. He's acted with such disdain over the summer. His agents, his representatives have all come out with such bullshit about what was told to him, what was this, what was that, and then he stays away. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace, and once again puts Newcastle United in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. But I tell you what, Newcastle United are not being bullied. They're not being pushed around. They are standing up to this absolute nonsense. And that's what it is. It's nonsense raised by a player and his representatives to try and get out of a football club. When he knows he signed for 6 years and didn't put anything in there saying about a move away or a valuation coming in, nothing. He's a fucking liar and he's a fucking rat. Simple as that. You tell me, everybody, why has he not put a transfer request in? If he's that unhappy at Newcastle United, if he thinks he's been lied to or treated with disrespect, why has he not put a transfer request in? I'll tell you why. Because he's a greedy bastard and he knows he loses all his endorsements if he puts a request in. Where's his balls here? He hasn't got the balls to put a transfer request in. That's the whole point of it all. He wants to go that badly, but somehow he has not put a transfer request in. He's a greedy bastard. Anyway, let's take a look at some more of your super chats, guys. Ricky says, in contrast to what a professional statement by the club, don't mess with Eddie Howe's black and white army and the Saudis. Geordie Revolution, a member for 2 months. Mate, you give those so-called pundits a run for their money. Consistency, sensible, a true fan. How are the lads? Thank you, mate. Simon Muller says, at the end of the Everton game last season, Isak was the only player not celebrating. Struck me as odd at the time. Now it makes sense. Bang on, Simon. Go back and look at those celebrations, and you tell me if Isak is a happy man that we've qualified for the Champions League. It all makes sense now. It all comes out in the wash. Charlie says PFA will apply a regulation policy on tapping up by wager. Yeah, they probably will. Alex says, would find it so funny if he's integrated back into the team and upon scoring, he points to the badge and then towards ground and mouths he's staying. Do you know what? I mean, I couldn't give a toss if he does that. He doesn't want to stay. He just doesn't want to be there. Ricky says, I would have him cleaning the changing rooms and toilets for 12 months. I'd flush him down the fucking thing. Mango Warrior says, morning, Paul. My day off, setting alarm to watch this. Got a ticket for the Liverpool game. Ready for that carnage. Fuck Isak. He's a disgrace. Can't wait for Tyndall to uppercut him. No way back. Can't wait for karma and get him gone. Dave Bannon says, can't be sold on the cheap, though. No, absolutely. We need to stick to our guns on that as well. Troll says, we can't sell Isak for less than what we want, or other players might try the same, and that's worse than keeping Isak. Susie says, we had other teams support until this. F off rat. And Buff says, fully agree with you, mate. I beg you get on TalkSport today. They wouldn't have us on. To be honest, I was contacted last night by Sky to go on Sky Sports News last night. However, apparently they ran out of time to get me on. So I was due to go on at about 10:15, but it never happened. And, hopefully I'll be on in the near future. But to be honest, I think all Newcastle United fans need to... What I have noticed is pretty much a fan base coming together here. A fan base that has been quite badly hurt by a player that has completely disrespected the club that we bleed black and white for. That is the whole issue with all of this. It's the fact that he has treated our club with absolute disdain. Absolute disdain. And the lies that he's now been telling about the football club. I just love the way that Newcastle United have decided to come out here and be really strong and unite the fan base. That's what that statement did last night for me that came from Newcastle United. It united the fan base. You know, we're all now just fed up of this absolute greedy bastard who wants to try and take Newcastle to the cleaners and leave on the cheap. And he's got a fan base down there at Liverpool who just think he's the bee's knees. Yet there is some sensible Liverpool fans out there, by the way. And we do have a few that watch this channel. And obviously Doug, who's a big friend of mine. They have seen it in a mature way and say, well, what's to say that Isak isn't going to do this 2 years down the line when Real Madrid come calling if he's at Liverpool? He will do exactly the fucking same thing. He will kick off. He will make stuff up to try and get this out of the club. And he will try and get a move to Real Madrid. It will be exactly the same factor, unless Real Madrid came in with an offer that Liverpool simply couldn't turn down straight away and they accepted it. But if they didn't accept the bid, what's to say he's not going to kick off at Liverpool the same way he's done at Newcastle? And look, there is some people talking about Visser in the chat. We've been through this Visser situation numerous times. I don't agree with what Visser's doing at all. They're very different situations, but on the flip side, I don't agree with Visser's behaviour. Just get on with it. If the transfer happens, it happens. And I know, Visser is at an age now where he believes he wants to come to Newcastle, and play Champions League. He's at the stage of his career now where that possibly wasn't going to happen. It has happened. And he's got an opportunity, hopefully, to come to Newcastle if a deal can be done. Keith Downey last night stating it's more when than if about the Visser transfer. So that will probably happen in the near future. But this isn't about Visser. This is about a complete disrespect of Newcastle United by a player who was adored by a fan base, and he's turned on everybody. And it makes me so angry when people do this to our football club. And I know there's some idiots in the chat this morning saying, Isak's brilliant for doing this. No, he's not. Grow the fuck up. Seriously, if you think, Isak's brilliant for doing this, you are a man-child. Seriously, grow the fuck up. If Isak had any brains about him or his representative still, you just get on with it as a professional. He has chucked every single toy out of the pram. He spat his dummy out. And in a last-ditch attempt to get a move away from Newcastle United, he puts out that statement. And it is completely and utterly backfired on the bastard. Completely. And to be honest, I hope he absolute rots. I really do. I hope he rots. Because I don't know where we go from here, guys. I honestly don't. I mean, does anybody in the chat still believe that we can reintegrate this bastard back into the side? Given how the players themselves have responded, and they know, they will have seen at the back end of last season the drop-off from Isak. Listen, seriously, the drop-off was incredible. We saw it. We saw it live for the last 6, 7, 8 games of the season. Unbelievable. Really unbelievable. And it all makes perfect sense now. And those players, I tell you what, I would love to be a fly on the wall when Isak met that squad. If he ever does. Because we know the man has no testicles at all. And, his representatives are basically doing all the talking for him. And he has no testes. He has none at all to come out and face the public. Simple as that. And I don't want him at my football club anymore. I really don't. And I don't have any interest in him coming back and scoring goals and all that kind of bullshit. Because we all know, we're not stupid as fans. We all now know that Alexander Isak does not want to play for Newcastle United. He's made serious accusations against the club, which aren't true. And then he's expected, what? People just expect the fan base to welcome him back with open arms, as well as Eddie Howe and the players? Give our. Toon Army Steve with a super chat. Thanks, mate. Keith Truscott, member for 35 months. Thanks, Keith. Isak has screwed himself as well as the club. No one should touch him now. Utter prat. And Samsonite Dove says reintegrating Isak would be an Eddie Howe masterclass. Well, I'll tell you what. He's got his work cut out for him. How on earth? Because I'll tell you something now. The first person that Isak needs to go to clear anything up is Eddie Howe. But how do you look at him in any different way than just anger right now? How do you possibly do that? When you've done all you can for him and he's completely stabbed you in the back? Because that's what he's done to Eddie. He's stabbed him in the back. Not with a knife, but with a fucking sword. And he's done exactly the same to the players and the fan base. Tina says, how do you know it's not true? Oh, God almighty. Honestly, these are the kind of comments that you kind of look at and you think, what the fuck is wrong with people? Seriously. Come on. You want to take a man like that, who's done nothing but disrespect and lie all summer, and then make a statement like that in a last-ditch attempt to get out of the football club. Because I tell you what, I will believe Newcastle United over everybody. Over Isak, over his agent, over his representatives. God almighty, man. And great point made by MCL there. If it was true, why has he not put a transfer request in? Because that's what you do. If the club had lied to him, you put in a transfer request, and you've got ample reason to do that. If your football club has lied to you, then you put a transfer request in. And the reason for that transfer request, lies. You've been told information that hasn't come to fruition, and you were told you could leave, etc., etc. He hasn't done that because he loses endorsements, and he knows that Newcastle United, if that was the reason to put on a transfer request, they would fight him tooth and nail. And remember, the man has no testicles, so he wouldn't have the balls to put a transfer request in anyway. So that's the reason why Newcastle United are 100% right in what they've done and what they've said and how they are going about their business handling the situation. You just have a load of bollocks people out there from especially Liverpool. My God. It's unbelievable the way they've gone on. Tina's back again, guys. Tina says you are slandering a person without facts. By the way, I don't want Isak. Tina, I'm not slandering him. It's there for all to see. Newcastle United have made a statement telling us that Isak is lying. So how am I making a slanderous comment? The club themselves have come out with a statement saying he's telling lies. It is not true. So I'm sorry, but I will 100% agree with that. Yeah, Lady Sam, check my WhatsApp. Yes, I will indeed check my WhatsApp. Sky want you on this morning, right? Well, I'll keep an eye open for them, Sam. No problem. I mean, we're coming to the end shortly anyway, because obviously, you know, there's no other news this morning apart from this. I mean, it's dominating headlines everywhere. Sky Sports making out Newcastle is a bad guy. See, if somebody tells me that while I'm on the screen, my God. I mean, look, Isak has been very silly by listening to his agents and his representatives. Simple as that. They've been very, 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 very silly. And I think that it's sad. It's very, very sad. But you know what? The story will go on, and this won't be the first show or video of the day, guys. So make sure that you are subscribed, etc., etc. You know, for the rest of the day, because this is just going to get. I think this is going. We haven't heard the last of it yet. Certainly, we haven't heard the last of it. We also haven't heard the last of the transfer news. I think Newcastle United are working really hard behind the scenes to try and get something done, but it is what it is. And I just think he's an absolute complete dickhead for what he's done. I'm ashamed of Alexander Isak. He should be ashamed of himself. But reintegration for me, I just don't think will happen. I genuinely don't think it will happen. I can't see a way back in for him. You know, if I'm sitting here being honest as a fan, I don't want him back. I don't want him back for many, many reasons. He's a liar. He doesn't want to play for that black and white shirt. He doesn't want to play for the badge, the manager, the fans, the rest of the squad. Yeah, he's got 3 years left. You know, you signed a 6-year contract, pal, without putting any transfer requests in there or, you know, buyout clauses. Nothing. You didn't put anything in. So I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. I don't see him ever coming back. But listen, that is it for this morning, guys. You know, I've had me say, I'm not going to repeat myself time and time again. Certainly from what you said in the chat this morning, you guys 100% literally are fuming with Alexander Isak. I mean, I'm struggling to see anybody. There's a Liverpool fan there just put a comment in, Gavin, saying he doesn't want him. He gets told he's not for sale and goes on like this. What is to say he won't do that at Liverpool? Exactly. But anyway, listen, thanks very much for watching, guys. Thank you for all your super chats and memberships this morning. Keith Truscott's just bounced in with one at the end there. 3 years left on the contract. End of. Everyone else can F off simple and have him languishing on the bench. Yeah. just get. I don't even want him at the football club, to be fair. But look, thank you very much, everybody. We are back tonight, but we will probably be back at regular times throughout the day. So make sure you have those notifications on. If you haven't already done so, please do subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss any uploads or live shows. And of course, please don't forget to give the show a like before you leave. But thank you so much for watching, guys. We will see you very soon. Take care.
Come back and check on Breathe.